I just want to say this because this really been on my mind lately. I have nothing against the plain Jane females. And what I mean by that, like the females who doesn't go out, the female who doesn't like get their makeup done, the female who doesn't really get their hair done often, the plain Jane females. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't have nothing against y'all, but why is it so hard for us pretty girls to come across a decent guy? It just seemed like all the guys, the good guys, always like cuff the plain Jane females.
All right, Isabel. But Ava, your point about, if men were that alpha, then they wouldn't be that bothered by this, doesn't really help us when it comes to boys growing up. And that is one of my worries, that for teenage boys now, they are so terrified of the consequences of putting a foot out of line. It's hard enough being a young teenager, working out how things are, working out how to do dating and all of that, without the terror that if you touch in the wrong place at the wrong time, you may find that your whole life is destroyed.
See, I
and
like
there is
that
far
terror.
too much. Well,
I like that.
As a mother of a teenage boy, I don't like
Really?
that terror.
I do.
Interesting. I do think it's really hard for a 16, 17-year-old boy now in this environment to know even how to start
they are all
having kind of some
terrified.
kind of physical relationship with a woman.
Welcome to the patriarchy, that's too much to say. Medicine was all designed for men, but women aren't the same. Be youthful, be pretty, and don't show your skin, but they'll blame your looks if you're successful in anything. Welcome to the patriarchy, take a look around. Women can't afford the tax on pads or breastfeed when they're out, and men can't even cry without perception they're weak. And nothing's gonna change unless we get up and speak.
Okay, so I just learned the most interesting thing, and especially if you're a woman, I just feel like you need to take a minute and wrap your head around this with me. So, men work on a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour clock. Women work on an infradian rhythm. It's a 28-day cycle, right? Okay, some of us, we already know this. But if you think about our regular day-to-day, what we do, get up, go to work, get a lot done in the morning, maybe towards the afternoon, you kind of start to relax a little bit, then you have like your happy hour, and then you go home and you sit on the couch. That whole thing, it's based around how a man's body works. It's based on, and let me explain to you why. So, when men wake up in the morning, their testosterone and cortisol levels are the highest. That's why sometimes they're feeling like they could get a little jiggy, and they have a lot of energy and they're ready to go. So men wake up like boom, every morning, exact same amount of hormones. That's how they wake up. Towards the afternoon, their testosterone begins to decline, which makes them more likely to want to socialize with people, kind of slow down their day. We're talking happy hour. We're talking finishing work at that time because that's how men would naturally function. And then towards the end of the night, their testosterone levels are at their lowest, which makes them more sensitive to the estrogen, which makes them want to curl up and retreat and sit on the couch and relax. And so that is the pattern that as a society we follow. Because for men, it makes them really comfortable. So if anyone wants to act like the patriarchy is not at work, like it's a thing of the past, like women have been liberated to the full extent, no, we have not. We have not been. Because you were taught to do your day based off how a man's body works. You've been taught to organize your schedule based off how comfortable men are. Day to day, all day long, for the rest of your life. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, and for the record, this has never happened in my life. You'll be the first.
Of what?
Spitting in my mouth.
Open wide.
You bad girl.
Open wide, bad girl. You little slut.
Not all men, but all women are bad drivers, and all women are moody, and all women are emotional, and all women get to be painted with the same brush. But don't you dare generalize men. That's unfair.
If you were a mad scientist with no ethical or moral dilemmas, what is one I've been thinking about this for way too long. If I could, I would take every man in politics, regardless of party, and put them in a 1-year pregnancy simulator. It would be a reality TV show, 12 episodes, 12 months. They would be hooked up to machines that would induce the feeling of being pregnant. They would be forced to wear pregnancy simulation stuff, like glued onto their body. Every month they could leave if they wanted to. However, they would sign legally binding contracts saying they would never run for politics again, and they would never be able to say anything about women's reproductive rights. At month 9, they have to go through labor like a pain simulator, except none of those bitch boy 5-minute ones. If they draw a number out of a hat, they could have a 10-hour labor, they could have a 72-hour labor. We'll cut some of them open for an unnecessary C-section. For the 3 months after, they would have to raise a newborn infant on a minimum wage paycheck. In order to leave, they would have to pay the equivalent of having to raise a child and put them through college.
I'm about to show you 2 graphs about the way that men look at women and girls. Individually, these graphs are scary, but when we put them together, the image is absolutely horrifying. The first graph asked a group of women what age they were when they first noticed them being sexually looked at by men. The second graph asked men between the ages of 20 and 50 to put down what age they found most sexually attractive. An important part to note in the second graph is the fact that 20 was the lowest age they were allowed to choose. Now look at these graphs together. Draw your own conclusions.
Argentina, Argentina, Argentina.
What we know is that men and women lie. Men lie by exaggerating and by boasting and by inflating, and women lie by denying and by minimizing, because that is what is expected from them.
There's a Margaret Atwood quote that is the perfect illustration of this. She says, "What men fear is that women will laugh at them. What women fear is that men will kill them." And so men inflate their power as a survival strategy, and women trivialize their power as a survival strategy. Now, the real power that women have is that they can see right through the emptiness of this male exaggeration, this male inflation. And that's what all men fear. And so men try to keep women from exposing that truth, that male power rests on nothing except exaggeration. And that process by which women have to trivialize their power in order to protect the vanity and ego of men is called the patriarchy.
I'm going to go right in here in the San Francisco harm reduction site, and I'm going to see what kind of paraphernalia they're giving out today. They gave me a whole box of syringes. This is a whole box of syringes. Those are a whole box of syringes. I mean, literally for free. You can't even get a plastic straw in San Francisco, let alone they're just giving away as many needles as you want. I have Narcans. I have these sanitary cookers. I have tie-offs to tie off your arm. I came out with saline water, clean saline packages to cook the dope with. These are to hold, these little tie-offs are to hold these like this. You twist it around there so you don't burn your hand while you're cooking the dope.
Anybody can just come into this place and grab these bags full of equipment.
For free. And little cotton swabs to suck the dope up through. I asked them what this was for. This is a new one that they're giving out, these chopsticks, and they said it was a pusher for a glass pipe so you could push your crack inside the pipe more. Brillo pad to filter the crack in the pipe. Then they give you these straws, right? And these mouthpieces for the meth pipe. The most alarming thing was I asked where I could go to get some help to get clean. What program can I get into right now to get clean and off the streets? And they had no idea.
And I also understand the MGTOW guys, you know, who are recommending that men don't enter into long-term permanent relationships with women. I understand where they're coming from, although I called them pathetic weasels a while back. I shouldn't have done that. Well, they're providing a lot of young guys who need a kick to go out there.
Right, they're actually giving them the back door.
They're giving them a rationale, yeah, and I've seen this have very detrimental effects on a number of people already. And partly in my clinical practice. The young guys who aren't successful, they're looking for a reason why women are terrible, because otherwise they have to think, well, they're just not presentable, which is what they do have to think, because that's almost the definition of presentable. And then the MGTOW guys give them a rationale. You know, we are in a gynocentric world and females have got control and they'll like wipe you out if they have the opportunity. It's like, well, some females will do that to some guys some of the time, and sometimes it's brutal. I've had clients who've been dragged through the court systems and just ruined.
We're going to talk about who has a better suit.
No, we're not going to talk about who has a better suit. 100 man-hours went into making my suit.
So what are you scared of?
My suit was made by a company called Huntsman. They make the clothing for royalty. They've been established since 1849. If you've ever watched the movie Kingsman, that's actually filmed in a tailor shop on Savile Row. That is the tailor shop. The time it takes is between 6 and 12 weeks. The materials are the finest materials in the world. Typical suit will cost you around $10,000. Shirt around $400. These custom-made black leather shoes, they cost me about $12,000.
Are you done? My suit was created on December 1st, 1986.
Don't say birthday suit.
It is my birthday suit.
You are so, you know what?
1,000 women have and been